Trump tries to take credit for Ukraine's resistance against Russia. Days after calling Putin a genius for invading, the former president boasted that he sent Ukraine weapons, conveniently ignoring that he was impeached for delaying military aid to the country. Peter Wade. Former President Trump anointed himself a savior of the Ukraine resistance, a week after he called President Vladimir Putin a genius, smart, and a peacekeeper as Russian troops invaded separatist-backed regions in Ukraine. During an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News on Wednesday, Trump bragged about supplying Ukraine with weapons and military aid when he was president. Russia is in much deeper than they thought, to a certain extent because of the weapons that I gave, and that the Ukrainians used so well, amazing, he said. Trump conveniently ignored that he was impeached for attempting to use said military aid as leverage to strong-arm Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky into digging up dirt on the Biden family. As President Biden announced sanctions against Russia and warned of more if President Vladimir V. Putin did not withdraw his forces from Ukraine, former President Donald J. Trump on Tuesday praised Mr. Putin's aggression as genius and called the Russian leader very savvy for describing the troops aligned on the Ukrainian border as peacekeepers. Mr. Trump's praise for a foreign adversary in a geopolitical confrontation with a sitting United States president was extraordinary for any former president, even one with a long history of cozying up to Mr. Putin, dating to his first presidential campaign. In July 2016, Mr. Trump directly appealed to the Russians to hack the emails of his Democratic opponent, Hillary Clinton, and make them public, the same day that the Russians made their first effort to break into the servers used by Mrs. Clinton's personal office. Once elected, Mr. Trump broke with decades of American precedent and repeatedly showed unusual deference toward Russia and expressed admiration for Mr. Putin, among other strongman leaders. Weeks after taking office, Mr. Trump brushed aside Mr. Putin's human rights transgressions during an interview with Bill O'Reilly, then of Fox News. "You got a lot of killers," he said. "What, you think our country's so innocent?" In 2018, Mr. Trump stood alongside Mr. Putin at the end of a summit meeting in Helsinki, Finland, and publicly challenged the conclusion of his own intelligence agencies that Moscow had interfered in the 2016 election, an enormous demonstration of trust in a leader accused of attacking American democracy. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump also ridiculed President Biden and accused him of failing to address Mr. Putin's recognition late Monday of two Russia-backed separatist territories in Ukraine as independent republics, saying, "There was no response," and calling this very sad.